I noticed that the previous incumbent mentioned his wife, so I thought I'd better mention mine. She put up with me all these years and listening to all the moans and whines about this not happening correctly and saying, "Oh, you played very well, darling." Which was always very clever of her. I've been buying her pictures recently. That's the only solution. In these situations, just as my previous friend spoke, one has to talk a bit about the past and the present, and it's quite tricky because, you know, I go to these matches now, and I look at the ground, and I think the ground's very good. And then I see all these teams, 8 of them, doing all these strange exercises. And I still find it odd. I'm sorry, boys, I support the effort, but you know, I used to do mine a few stretches in the bedroom, and nothing more than that. You know, it was 4 players, but the professionals did more than there was necessary in their bedroom, and we used to get on with it. This lot, I never see them doing this exercise where you're meant to stretch the riding muscle. And I'd like to tell them, this is the most important muscle, but they don't do that. They sort of get the riding muscle problem and don't play, and you still have to pay them. That wasn't in my speech, by the way. It's just the way life is. And in the past, you can say, well, these chaps now are better than we were, but Alan Kent organised this Argentine player called Pires, and his son's here today. And I paid him a few pounds a match, and then I expected to see him. And I said, Alan, you know, where is he? When he's coming to play, David, he'd definitely be here. The usual rubbish from Alan. I said, well, you can tell him if he's not here by 3 o'clock, he can forget coming for the rest of the season. And he turns up in a sort of cloud of dust, having been in Paris. I won't say who with. She's not here tonight. But without his knee pads, I'm glaring at him because you're meant to be there half an hour before. That's what I was advising a new patron, the German ambassador. You have to be there half an hour. No, the Hungarian. Sorry, I'm getting my countries mixed up. You know, you've got to be there half an hour before, and you know, get ready for the game. And Pires turns up at 3 o'clock, hops on the horse, destroys the 9-golder in the other side. He's smoking a cigarette before he gets on the horse. At that time, he used 7 goals. The only solution we found in England with Gonzalez's father, we put him up 2 goals every year. That didn't do the trick either. So I'd better talk a bit about the past. I'll try and talk about the future in a minute, but for me the past is always interesting. You can learn from it. Your team collapsed. He said, well, yes, one of my players fell off. The grass was so bloody long I couldn't find him. That's a true story. The horse will always have an answer. You know, and I mean, now talking a bit about the present. I turned up to one match this year and I watched this patron play, and I thought to myself, he's playing the same as he did 12 years ago. You know, why doesn't he try a different shot rather than the forehand? Why doesn't he try the backhand? You know, or do something. But anyway, and I want to say to the patrons tonight, you know, you all have frightfully busy lives. Well, I had, you know, I worked for a few years, did the same thing. But, you know, my advice to the modern patron is to, you know, go and have these business meetings, which are boring as hell. And God knows what you get up to these days. But go along to the local polo club I guarantee in whichever country you go to, there is a local polo club there. You turn up, you preferably say you're from Cowdrey rather than Guards. And, you know, I met this chap called Savage, which is a good name for him, and he lent me 2 good horses. And, you know, that's an example. I invited him back to England, and that goes on now for 20 odd years. And you can just sticking a ball, and you'll always get a horse. And that's a good tip. And my wife's done this quite well, actually, typing this out. I can read it. And the other thing they've started now is 4 professionals playing together, which is always a good idea. And they've come up with this after great thought. But the only thing they've forgotten about is who's going to bloody well pay them. And, you know, they can go out and try a few stupid rules, sort of put the ball down and hit it and everybody chases after it, or, you know, Julian Hibbert was telling me they're trying it in America, and, you know, 8 players go one way, 8 players go the other, and, you know, a lady said to Julian, I don't understand this at all, nobody stays back or forward, or, Julian said, this is the new way they play. It will happen, and it's good, you know, if David Wood and his lawyer umpire, they can practice their rules in that system. But they'll never replace the patron, you know, Hanbury, you know. Where do you find another Hanbury? Very difficult. Then we had this new chap, he came along, called Packer. And he wandered over to me, actually here at the Guards Club, thinking about it, because I write these speeches down and I never really follow the script, but he turned up and said, you know, I hear you're the one to speak to about how to get on the high goal. And then he said, I hear you know exactly what the line of the ball is, and you know actually how to cross it without fouling. And, you know, I'm going to get the best players and beat you. I thought, I'm not going to put up with this from this fellow. I said, I have the best players and the best horses, and, you know, good luck to you. And, but, you know, Kerry, he did a fantastic job, you know. He was the catalyst for the grounds, and we should all raise our glasses because Kerry was the first one to start improvement on grounds. And after he started, Lord Cowdrey put his hand, not in his pocket because he didn't have pockets, but it was the sports fund, which I'd never heard of before on the committee. It had about 25 million in it, and which you'd never mentioned. And the sports can't pay for this, David, don't worry. 400 grand went out of that. That solved that problem. And you know, good on Lord Cowdrey. Looking at the game now, you think you've got all the answers, but you haven't, because it's become more of a business. This is a sport, and you chaps come down and play, and you know, you have a great time. You know, we've given you better grounds, you can't miss the ball, so we can't boo you. You know, the pros think they're very good, but they should come and play you know, on Cowdrey 20 years ago. You also have consistent umpiring. You know, David Wood has done a fantastic job with consistent umpiring, but you know, in the past we did have good umpires, but you know, they didn't turn up very often, and you could get Paul Withers. And so you've got a lot of things going for you, you know. But I watched the first high goal match this year, and I won't mention which ground because I know they'll be here for sure, and they'll say you're victimising me. But not 160 was hit. And what I say to the patrons are that, you know, they're dominated by the pros now. Mind you, I had to listen to Alan Kent, who used to whine and moan so much. You know, we won't go into too many details. I could make a nasty joke, but there's a definition of Jewish foreplay, you know, 2 hours of whining and pleading. Anyway, I was lucky enough. The one thing I did do when I started at Rhinefield, as my erstwhile chairman mentioned, there's one thing I did do that was sensible. I did very few, not very sensible things in my life. I married my wife. There's two things. I went to this place, Argentina, and they said there's a Tengola going to teach me. I had no idea what a Tengola was, and I mentioned my handicap, which was -2. He'd never heard of a -2. He thought I must be incredibly dangerous to be given a minus handicap. Never met one before, and so he thought this is Baby Alberti, and he's too old for most of you in this room. But anyway, he said the most important thing about polo is getting on that horse. So I'm waiting to hit the ball. So I have to get on the horse and ride it for a week, flying all that way, and I wasn't allowed to hit the ball. I'm getting furious anyway. So then we actually progressed to hitting the ball, and he got out these old codgers to play against me, and I thought, I'll show these Argentines how to play. And there was some old chap, Gonzalito, I remember him, Wyndham Lacey. Anyway, he took a knock in, and I thought, I'm going to crowd him. Well, he nearly killed me. He must have been 80 years old. And then I realized this Argentine game was something else. And he then, he got hold of my stick, he threw that in the hedge at Hurlingham. He said, you can't ride, you're the most dreadful player. And he wrote me a letter when I got home, and in fact I sent it to David Wood, and it was fantastic. It's still the same things apply to you patrons. I mean, this chap I saw riding at Cowdrey this week, he never got out of the saddle. He sat in the saddle, hitting just a forehand. It was pathetic. If he went to see Baby Alberti, who would have to dig him up, he would sort him out. And Gonzalito's father used to have to play against the Hipwoods. It's too long, is it? Okay. I got nothing more to say really, actually, but I will say a couple of things, because there's a lot of young professionals here and they think they're fantastic, but let me tell you, we had the Hipwoods, and the Hipwoods were invited to play in Palermo. Invited, not paid to play, invited. And they were 9 goals, and they'd be 9 goals playing today in the Argentine Open. That's one of the points. And the second thing is, one Argentine mentioned to me, David, you won some of your Gold Cups when we weren't playing. So I got rather irritated, and I remember I lost my first Gold Cup. I played against this team with 2 Crusaders in it, and Andrew Hine and Alex Sabine. Well, that team today would get the Gold Cup final. I'll rush through the following points. You always want to hurry in these times. Everybody wants to get on the mobile, Christ knows what else, or this chap wants to talk to Jock about the budget. I don't know, but really bugger him. And many stories are, you can't talk about them, but I'm going to tell one. I don't know whether he's here tonight, or Schwarzenbach, but we played against him in Bordeaux, and used to have a final every weekend. If you see Ors now, you can only talk about Bordeaux. And the first weekend we beat him, the second weekend we beat him. But he had his full Gold Cup side there, I had Jock. I had to persuade him to come and practically pay him. It was absolutely hopeless. And then he bought his professional, who was good, Cody, and I had Alan, who was a scrapper. And we had to meet this side of Urs. And anyway, the first 2 weekends we beat them, and then Cody went over to Urs, and I'm listening, and he said, Urs, Jamison was drunk the first weekend. The next weekend, Jock was drunk, and Jamison was still drunk. And this weekend, I'm going to beat you. I said, Cody, what the hell are you doing? You're mad. He's going to go completely off his rocker. He's going to crush it. He's got 200 horses and Kent, I mean, you can't believe it how quick he is. He said, don't worry, leave it to me. I thought, my God, I'm on the HPA, you know, what is he going to do, water the horses? Well, he watered Mike Azzaro. Mike Azzaro came onto the ground, he missed the ball by a foot. I mean, Kent fixed it. I mean, we won that game as well. And Urs can only talk about Bordeaux, about nothing else, not about the Gold Cup. It means nothing to him. You know, I hate to tell the, you know, his players that it means nothing. It's Bordeaux. I can finish now. I'm going to finish. Okay. How boring of you to interrupt me. Now in America they have a system. You know, they're a democratic country. That's a mistake. They're playing this tournament at the moment. They've got one patron running 3 teams, one patron running 2 teams, one patron running 1 team. He actually won the tournament. You've got an Argentine organising that competition. You've got an Englishman organising the Argentine polo. You've got an American running Cowdrey. You've got an Irishman running the HPA. I mean, I hope they all get it together. But the Englishman running the Argentine polo, he doesn't like to see playing with other young Englishmen. Maybe he went to the wrong school. I don't know. And, you know, but anyway, I'd like now. I will finish. You're so boring. I hate being interrupted. That's one thing my wife will tell you. You can do many things, but not interrupt me. I'd like to thank the guard for a very good dinner, and I thought Stephen did a very good job lying about me.